So this is one of our stands that we have set up for the GX7 ISO electric row monitor system. So whatever monitor you have, as long as it's ISOBus compatible, it has a virtual terminal on it, and you have the unlock on it if you need an unlock, then you can use that GX7 row monitor on that monitor that you have. Over here would be the flow meters. This is a separate product. This is the GX2 dual electric pump system. So the way I have this set up in plumbing is we'd have the GX2. As you come out of the flow meter here, we're running into the flow meters for the rows. And each of these flow meters, it's called a bank. So each bank can do 4 rows. I have 2 banks, 2 flow meters. It means this is an 8-row setup. So looking at the flow meters here, I just have a Y fitting coming out of this one hose. It Ys off, goes to the first 4 rows and goes to the last 4 rows. And then on the monitor itself, this is just a John Deere 2630, so you can run it off of the newer monitors as well. I'll show that off in just a bit here. When the GX7 is booted up on the virtual terminal, you'll see here it says GX7. You'll tap on that, and then I already have this set up for 8 rows. Over here you can put in your target rate. We have a feature coming out this year, 2025, to where you can actually connect this to your task controller, and then if you're running a prescription rate, this will adjust with your prescription rate. Or else if you're just doing a flat rate and you don't want to do that, or say if you have an older monitor and we can't see the variable rate on your task controller, then you can still just put in your flat rate and then run the system based off of that. This can also tell you what the actual GPA is that you're putting out total. It'll tell you the GPA per row. I'll show you on a bit. You can tap on a row and it'll tell you the exact flow per row that you're putting out. This will show you your flow in gallon per minute. You can connect this with an external speed sensor that we can provide for you, or you can use the speed sensor that you're already using. So if you're already using some kind of Starfire Globe, whatever GPS you're using, that'll take it off of your monitor and share it with the GX7 to see your speed. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna run the system here. I'm gonna go to my original Green Star here. I'm doing a nozzle flow check. I'm just doing a basic 5 mile, 5 gallon. GX2 turns on. You can see the lights on the flow meter, the flashing lights on those flow meters, they will coordinate with how much flow is going through it. So if there's more flow going through the rows, they'll flash faster. Less flow, it'll flash slower. Going back to the GX7 here, right here, you don't see any color above the center or below the center of the line. That means we're locking in on rate. We are simulating 5 miles per hour right now, and then we're putting out 5 gallon per acre. So my target there is 5 gallon per acre. My actual right here, it's going between 5 to 5.1 gallon per acre, so we're locking in on rate. If I wanted to see the flow rate of row 1, I can tap on that. It'll tell me my flow rate in gallon per minute. It'll tell me an ounce a minute, liter per minute, and then it'll give you some other diagnostic information as well for that row. You can see how accurate it gets. For the ounce per minute per row, it'll tell you to the 100th decimal place how much flow it's actually putting out. So I'm gonna press home, and then I can check that for every row. Now say if I were to plug a row, I'll try to partially plug here. Oh, right here I have a total plug. You can see how the other rows are over applying a little bit. They're getting some green. And then that last row there, it's not applying, so it's totally red. So then you'll get a warning saying that, hey, unexpected flow, no matter what page you're on, you don't have to be sitting on the GX7 page. It'll tell you, hey, unexpected flow detected, you need to go check out that row. You can go back to your row monitor and see, okay, my row 1 is plugged, and go fix it from there. And then if you were to have it partially plugged, see if I can do that here. How you saw it was yellow there for a little bit. That means I am outside of my threshold. Hard to get exact here. That tells me I'm outside my threshold though, and again, it'll give me a warning telling me that there's no flow. And then on my high side, as long as I'm within the green, I'm within my threshold that I set in the settings. So say if I'm within 20% of my target rate per row, don't show me a message. Now if I go outside of that 20% or whatever value that's set in there, then it'll tell you a message. So on the low end, yellow means you're under applying, red, there's no flow. On the high end, if you're blue, you're over applying. Again, if you're green, you're still right on your target rate. I'm gonna shut this pump off here. Looking at the settings, It's a really simple setup. You just put in your job name if you want to do that. Same with field and acreage if you want to put that in. Put in your implement model, and then you want to put in the correct number of rows and the spacing. That's so we can calculate the correct rate. Down here would be your speed source. I'm simulating 5 miles an hour right now, but on a tractor you would put in your ground speed, and then you can see it based off your tractor GPS. If I go to my second page, from here, the GX7 is capable of doing dual product. Right now I have it just set up as a single product. You can put in your product name. I have a 1034O, and then you can put in your threshold. So here I have 25%. So if I go above or below my flow rate by 25%, I'll get a warning. The new feature that we have added to the GX7 for this year is corn and beans. And then also if you're doing like a wide drop setup, is we can either double or cut the flow in half for the end rows. So it's very convenient. We wanted to make it easy for the corn and bean. If you were to switch your rows, you just press a button up here and you say, okay, I'm going to beans. It does the correct calculation for the flow rate that you're doing per row. And then you're good to go from there. You don't need to recalibrate the flow meters. So going to initial setup of the flow meters now, what you'll do when you first get the system, you'll hit diagnostics. This blue here means not registered or not expecting anything because we only have 8 rows. We have these 2 right here. Green means that the flow meters are assigned to their rows. If I were to reset, they'll turn red, and that tells me they don't have an IP. They're not set anymore. So I'm just going to unplug the flow meters here. And then right now, they're not expecting anything. So I'm going to go plug them in order. I'm going to go to my first row. My first set of rows, I'm going to plug that in. And then you'll see this turn green. And then you don't have to wait for this to turn green before you plug in the next ones. But now my first flow meter is in. I'm going to plug in rows 5 to 8. And then in a couple seconds, that'll turn green. And now that tells me all my rows are set up. So pretty easy for setting up your flow meters per row. Once that's done, you don't need to put in any sort of flow calibration. Again, they're magnetic flow meters. So whatever viscosity of product you're using, whatever kind of product you're using, it'll adjust its rate for that. Now, if you were to still run into a scenario to where for whatever reason, row 5 just isn't reading right, it's always 20% off. You do a catch test and you're catching the right amount, but it says it's off. We have a feature in the row to where you can address that calibration and then you can read the correct amount from there. So this is our second stand that we have set up for the GX7. This one has a little bit more going on with it. So we'd have our GX7, our flow meters. This time, instead of the GX7s, the flow meters being used as the manifold, we're using sight glasses as a manifold. So the GX7, it can be used as an add-on system to whatever you have. You don't have to use it with an AgXcel pump. It can be used with whatever pump. And then you can put it in with whatever manifold you have. Or if you don't have a manifold, you can use the flow meters as a manifold. So in this case with the red balls as a manifold, my other product is the GX30. This is a updated version of the GX30 that we've had for a while. The main updates are the software on the can is a little different. So because of that, we decided to integrate the GX30 into a virtual terminal like the GX7. And so I'll show that off here. We're doing some proto testing for this year. So far all has been pretty good, but we want to do some more testing just to make sure everything is all right before we have a total launch for it. And then we have the same GX2 pump system with it as well. Looking at our 4th gen Deere monitor, I'm going to go to my virtual terminal here. My liquid controller is the Raven RCM with the level 2 unlock, so it's a dual product liquid controller. I'm going to put in a test speed real quick, 5 miles an hour. I'm going to turn the pump on. Right now I'm trying to do 7 gallons per acre. And then if I go to the GX7 here, right now it's set up to where the valves on the GX30 are changing a lot, so you can really see that flow difference. I'm going to change my target here from 5 gallon to 7 gallon per acre. That's why those rows were blue, because I thought it was over applying. So now that I'm locking in on rate, you can see that all the colors are towards the center, so I know I'm locking in on rate. If I were to tap on a row 4 here, I can see what my flow rate is. With this, here I have the ability to change the calibration of that one sensor per row. So each flow meter, even though it monitors 4 rows here, there's still an individual sensor for each flow meter that's in here. And then I can have my percentage offset for each flow meter. If I go back, let's say if I want to change my flow rate on my liquid controller, say I want to take it down to 5 gallons per acre there. I'll go back to my row monitor. You can see right now I'm under applying, or at least it thinks I'm under applying because I have it set to 7 gallons per acre. If I set it to 5, it'll tell me I'm locking in on rate. So you can see how that flow rate adjusts. Going back to the settings here, same thing. This one has a little bit of a newer software version on it. This is that newer version I said was coming out for 25. There's a different type of magnetic flow meter that can be used as well. This multi-flow flow meter is the most common one, but if you wanted an individual flow meter per row and place it at the row, there is another kind of flow meter that we offer as well, and that can be used. So you'll, by default, it should say multi-flow. That's probably what most of you are going to use anyway, so we'll keep it on multi-flow. If I go to my next page here, I can choose my number of products. Here I can select if I want to do corn and bean for my setup. I can also set a locking rate. So if I'm within a certain percentage, don't even show me that don't even show on my graph a different color, just show me that I'm locked in. So I have that at 10%. Most guys like to see that by default anyways. I'll show off that GX30 real quick. So what this GX30 does is there's a pressure transducer that's on the system. Depending on what your pressure is at, whatever thresholds you have in there, if you were to exceed either on the high end or low end that pressure, the valves will adjust. So looking at the valves here, we're running our dual microtube system. Look at the GX6 product for more information on the microtubing. There is a brown color towards you, and then a navy blue color towards the back here. The brown is my larger size, the navy blue is my smaller size. Because right now I'm within my threshold at about 17, 18 PSI, I don't need to switch to a larger microtube, so it's using my smaller size. But now if I were to up my flow rate, say if I take it to 9 gallons per acre, I'm going to build too much pressure. Now it's going to open my brown valve or my brown microtubes. Because my pressure was so high, then it opened up both of them so I can get even more flow out of it. But because my pressure was falling there, you saw my low valves started to open up again. So in this scenario where the valves are changing so much, that's just a calibration that you would set for your threshold on that GX30 so that they're not changing all the time. I just have this set up in an environment where I want the valves to switch a lot. But you can see how those valves switch. And then the GX7, you can see those changes being made. So right now it thinks I'm over applying. Well, actually here, I need to put in my 9 gallons per acre. Because I don't have that VRA enabled, it'll tell me what my actual flow rate is. Whenever there's an adjustment there, like a release of pressure, you'll see how the rows adjust. So the GX7 is very responsive, and you can see how quick, whenever you hear these valves switch, how quick those flow meters are to show you a change in rate. And if I shut off the system here on the GX30 from here, I can also manually control the valves. So say if I want to turn them both on, it tells me or if I only want to turn on the high rows, it'll tell me my high is on. If I only want to turn on the low rows with that smaller microtube, it'll tell me that. Or else I can do both here. And then these sections, right now, all sections are on. But if I were to do a section test and say shut off half of them and say only rows 1 to 4 were set up, right now I have 1 section per row, then we would see 1 to 4 would be on and then 5 to 8 would be off.